Hello and welcome back to Buck the Trend Podcast. I am Matt Nartive.
I'm Steph Clatterbuck and this is episode number 2.
So yeah, welcome back everybody. Well, everybody who's come back to listen, I guess.
Yeah, I hope you have come back. It'd be a shame. It'd be a shame if you didn't.
Yeah.
Get you all off after episode 1.
Yeah. No, we've had some great feedback, I think.
We have. Thank you everyone that sent us messages and rated us on Spotify and Apple and given us kudos on YouTube. It means a lot. A lot has got into prepping for this and we really, really appreciate it. So if you do like it, send us a message and make our egos inflate a little bit more.
Yeah, feel free to drop a comment or give a 5-star review on Spotify, etc. That'd be lovely.
Thank you.
But yeah, I've got a few things I want to address firstly today.
Oh, dear God.
So I've had a few comments and I've taken them on board. Firstly, my surname. I didn't realise it would, maybe I did, but it's caused me issues throughout my whole life. And it's now more at the forefront when I've had people ask, was I actually saying it correctly?
Yeah, and what the hell is it?
Yeah, so I guess I can start with that one. Yes, it is spelt very weirdly, spelt with a H and ends with a W, but neither of those letters are sounded within the name, I guess. So it's actually Nartive. So the H is pronounced silent and the W is a V. Is probably the easiest way to say it. So,
but honestly, like any kind of variation of that, he'll probably respond. We've been in hospital before, Matt unable to speak, and had like consultants calling out completely random pronunciations, and we just have to assume that they're talking about you.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like a sneeze. I think as long as you shout something, I'll usually respond because I've probably been called worse. So just wanted to address that one first.
Also, it's not Welsh.
No, it's not Welsh. It's actually Ukrainian from my grandfather. So
yeah, I mean the Welsh language doesn't make sense when you look at it, but this isn't one of those.
Yeah, which actually brings me on to my second point.
Oh no. I don't know what this one is.
So I've been asked if I am actually Welsh or yes, I have a bit of a Welsh twang. I've lost a little bit over the years. But if for our British viewers, which I'd imagine maybe is predominantly, there's a TV programme called The Traitors. And I've forgotten the lady's name. Charlotte. But she went onto the programme. It's a reality TV show for those of you who don't know. There's a traitor or traitors within the group. They have to work out who the traitor is. Essentially, this lady Charlotte went onto the TV show and decided that she was going to go with a Welsh accent because it sounded more friendly, I think was her reasoning.
Yeah.
So no, I am not putting on a Welsh accent to be more friendly.
It is genuine.
It is a genuine...
real life Welsh accent.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've cleared up those two things. Now that's off my chest, I feel better.
Now we can move on. I'm glad you feel better.
So yeah, should we kick off this week? I guess, let's try and round up this week. What have we been up to?
Yeah, well, I guess for me, it's like I'm still on my return to exercise post-holiday.
Yeah.
And that holiday was in the UK, recovering from the crash. So being back, I think this is week 4 of training.
Okay. So it's just starting to sort of ramp back into...
Yeah, so I'm just kind of starting to hit, it's still not loads, right? But 18-ish hours a week. With some good intensity on the bike predominantly. I did a threshold swim and basically drowned, so I don't know when I'm doing another one of those, hopefully not for a while. But yeah, it's like that weird period where you start to feel tired, therefore you start to feel more unfit, whereas before you were just kind of fresh. So you're like, oh, training's easy, don't know what I'm moaning about, but now I'm like, okay, feeling tired, things are starting to feel hard. Not helped by the fact that we went for a run in the snow on Sunday, didn't we?
We did.
With some wonderful friends up in Leeds, which was great. I am convinced I was having a cardiac event for the entire 90 minutes. I was trying so hard.
Yeah, it was more of a slip and slide, I guess, on the ice and snow.
Definitely needed some skis.
Yeah, but if we can go back to your swimming, drowning in a threshold set, that's Steph's idea of drowning is very different to everybody else's.
Well, it started off well, but by my final set, so it was like 2.5k of threshold, which was kind of mean.
Yeah, I mean, considering I haven't been in a pool since probably racing Roth.
July 24 was the last time I went swimming.
Yeah, so it's quite a few months now.
But my pace dropped off by like 7 seconds per 100, which is really quite drastic. I think that almost constitutes drowning. So yeah, it was pretty painful. Haven't quite recovered from that yet, but it's okay. I think it was like 10 days ago, but it's fine because we're back.
Yeah, and I guess a shout out to, we were up in Leeds for Jack Schofield's
exhibition
is what you'd call it.
It is what you call it. Yeah, to celebrate all the work that he's done with 226 over the last 12 months, but also over the last couple of years. So
yeah, shout out to Jack and his business with 226.
If you want any photos taken, he's your man. So yeah, that was fab. And Leeds is a really long way for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually never been before. I think we've been up to Yorkshire before, done a bit of riding around there, been to friends' weddings and things like that, but I've never actually been into Leeds, and not that we didn't really go very much into Leeds.
We tickled the edges.
We literally tickled the edges. And yeah, it was nice. I mean, it's always helped when there's blue skies and there's snow and it's not.
Oh, it's so pretty.
I'm sure the rest of the year it's pouring with rain, grey and cloudy, but I'm sure Jack will tell us otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, what the weekend did make me realise is how like impractical being a triathlete is. We went away, so we left on Friday afternoon and came back Sunday midday. We had a full car. Like I had my swimming kit packed, bike, outdoor kit for cycling, indoor kit for cycling, indoor kit for running, outdoor kit for running.
Steph says we had a full car. I can just say I only had a bag.
Matt had one bag
with one set of run clothes because I didn't think we were going to do 2 runs, and we did.
Okay, so I packed a lot of stuff, but I used all of it bar my outside riding kit because it wasn't safe.
Yeah, I mean, travelling with a triathlete is, or 2 would be even harder, but travelling with a triathlete is never easy. You either need a big car, especially if you're travelling with bikes, or
a van, which we have neither.
Trailer, truck, lorry,
I think lorry.
Anything else in between.
Yeah, what we didn't take was a turbo, but Ruth let me use Ali's.
That would be a bit excessive, I think.
It would be, wouldn't it? But the plus side was if we got snowed into Leeds, we'd have been able to live there for like 3 weeks without having any issues whatsoever because I had so much stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
And we ticked off sorting out your race calendar.
We did. So on the way up to Leeds, we cheated and broke the journey up over 2 days. So we stopped over to see my coach, Tim Don, and have a bit of a season wrap up and then a season planning session. Just chatting through various race options, what we want to do, and yeah, what we want to go for this year and how we want to approach it, which I think is really important for me because this is still only my second year and I want to go and give myself my best showing, and we don't quite know what that is yet.
Yeah, and there's no right and wrong answer with a season planning. You can plan all you want, things change, whether that's illness, injury, plenty of other things that happen through a season for not just external factors but also internal factors. So I think whatever we plan, A, might change, but B, there isn't a right or wrong answer. Obviously the end goal being Hawaii in October, so that's sort of how do we best fit a year in, it's not a year, but how do we best fit the 6, 8, 10 months before that to put ourselves in the best position, and we've got an idea of what we think that looks like, with a good few races along the way of what would excite you, I guess. But yeah, I think we've slowly nailing it down.
It's written in pencil.
Yeah, pencil.
Well, it's written in
pen.
whiteboard marker on a whiteboard, but that doesn't quite have the same effect. So we haven't got anything written in permanent ink yet. It's penciled in of what we think. A lot of it actually depends on how the next couple of weeks go. So I'm flying out to Lanzarote on Sunday for 2 weeks, which is kind of like a get fit camp. I mean, I know I'm not unfit, but it's an opportunity to get out into the sunshine, get some good bike miles in. A lot of it will be like endurance based work. There won't be much intensity.
Yeah, it's just building that aerobic base, I guess, isn't it?
And depending how my body responds through that will kind of determine when we start the season, I think. And I mean, I think I could probably start it at the point that I want to start it regardless, but it's also about like mentally, will I feel confident turning up to a race 3 weeks earlier than the kind of secondary option that we've got in. So yeah, maybe I'll give an update early February about where I'm starting my season, but right now I think there's too much that could change.
Yeah, and it's dependent on how you're feeling. How do the next sort of 4 weeks of training go? Are you feeling race fit by then? Who knows?
I hope not. I think there's like a huge misconception. Like, you don't need to be feeling 100% ready for your first race. Because in my mind, being 100% ready is what you want for your A race. And it's like a knife's edge because you can so easily go too far. And if you're there too early, you either overtrain and push yourself too far, or you have to kind of dial yourself back because you're on the verge of overtraining and you've overcooked yourself, and then it takes a bit of time to ease back in. So I think we're looking at basically a season with 2 peaks, where the first peak is smaller than the second, and the second one is Kona. So yeah, we'll build up for something in the first half of the year, then we come back down again, we get some good racing back under our belt, but all of it is with the intention to learn and develop and make mistakes to practice what we want to execute in Kona.
Yeah, but as we're aware, there's a certain fitness you need to get round and race an Ironman.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, you can't be unfit.
And it's a case of, I mean, you look at the best in the sport, they can win races. Oh, sorry, someone's calling me.
So rude, Matthew. Put your phone on silent.
I can't remember what I was saying now, but along the lines of, yes, the best in the world can sort of turn up to the races, not half cooked, but they can still perform at 80%, 90% and still podium, for instance. And it's getting yourself, the aim, the ideal is to get yourself to that, isn't there? Yeah,
for sure. Like I say, we're certainly not there yet, but we don't know how far we'll get, like how close we can be to that come March, April time. But it's an exciting part of planning the season because there are so many options and so many different paths to choose, and they all have different outcomes. Because do you go the Pro Series, which has huge amounts of exposure, but the chances of getting sponsor bonuses are much lower because getting onto a podium is much harder? Or do you go for the non-Pro Series races where the exposure is less, but the chances of getting sponsor bonuses may be higher because the races will be slightly less competitive? And I think Matt mentioned it a little bit earlier. It comes down to what excites you. And if you can't be excited about racing and get energy behind yourself to turn up and race hard, then it's probably the wrong pick. And I think that's like, yes, this is a job, but there is energy and emotion that goes into racing.
Yeah, it's got to excite you, but also it is a job at the end of the day now. And I think you've got to look at where the best avenues potentially for making money, like you say, exposure. There's a whole host of reasons of why you pick certain races.
Yeah. And
it may be that some races offer hotels, some sort of, I don't want to say subsistence, but like some sort of
expenses.
Yeah, expenses covered, and that can sometimes play a factor in your decisions.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it is a job now, and there are ways to try and make money out of it. So
it's a constant balance of risk versus reward.
Yeah, and there's, like I said, there's no guarantees. It's sport, so ultimately, it's what excites you and what gets you out of bed to train for that race.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully I've got Kona this year, which is it's a pretty compelling reason to get out of bed.
Yeah, to get out of bed and get training in the heat.
Yeah, well, we haven't started that yet. Need to be fit before you even throw in heat training. Talking about races, we had an amazing talking point come through as a suggestion.
Yes, I can't remember who it came from, but thank you.
I can't remember. It was on YouTube, but it was around race day nerves and how both Matt and I deal with them. Not Matt as the athlete, but Matt as the support staff. And I actually think it's such a fun conversation because we have had some pretty challenging conversations about it because we're very, very different.
Yes. And I say when I was racing myself, my experience of racing predominantly comes from when I was rowing. And like I say, that was a 5.5, 6 minute race where it's very easy to build yourself up, get the emotions sort of high, and be very hyped and amped for the race. Obviously, take that to a 9-hour race in an Ironman, it's very, very different. When I'm competing myself, when I do an Ironman, I don't get myself amped and up for it before the race. I'm not really racing. I'm more of not enjoy the day, but completing the day to the best I can. I'm not racing other people. But yeah, as a spectator and support for yourself, we've definitely had some conversations along the way about how we can get the best out of our relationship, dynamic, setup, whatever you want to call it.
So Matt goes to battle on race day, I think is the best way to put it. And that was important in rowing. And we both did in rowing, to be fair, because the start was so important. That first 30 seconds to a minute could lose you a race.
Yes.
And you couldn't be caught napping. So you needed the adrenaline to be super high. You needed to be ready to go. And you needed to be firing all cylinders from before the gun went.
Yeah, and it was very much a team based. I did a lot of rowing in 8s, so there's the cocks and 8 of the blokes. So there's 9 testosterone fueled big burly men in a boat.
Whereas the endurance game is slightly different, because while it is beneficial to not be caught napping, you don't want to use all your energy coins or your emotion coins at the start.
No. You want to, from the start, you probably want to use up a little bit within the takeout speed of the swim, maybe.
Especially in the pro field. Age group, very different.
Age group,
pro field, yeah.
Age group's definitely more of a time trial, fastest day to be professional. There's certainly a case of you need to get out quick and hard. Otherwise, you'll be either dropped, stuck in a group, and thrown elbows left, right, and centre. So it's within your best interests, especially as a decent swimmer, is to get out ahead. So, and maybe towards the finish. When you're scrapping,
definitely at the finish, I think you want to be tapping into your emotions in the last 5 to 10k, 5k on the half distance, 10k on a marathon or Ironman, sorry. But my approach to race day nerves is quite different now, because I've realized this, right? I've known that if you're racing an Ironman on emotion, it runs out very early, so you need to save it for when you need it. So I start the day really process driven, and I have my routine that I do every morning that is stuff that I need to do. So I haven't got any Rafa Nadal style quirks where I'm playing my shorts and all sorts, but I have to plait my hair, which is so centering because you have to focus. Matt hates it. He gets so annoyed.
It probably is the longest part of her routine in the morning. I think she's if we could employ someone to do it for her, we would. I've tried, but I can.
He does not touch my hair.
I can barely tie a knot on my shoelaces, so let alone doing some plaits.
So yeah, I wake up, and while I'm eating my rice, I plait my hair, have my coffee, and I just kind of go through and I get everything ready. And I talked last week about my leaving my leggings on under my wetsuit. And basically, I want to create a routine so that my brain remains clear, so I don't do stuff like that.
And you like to do it in silence. You're not a big talker pre-race. You like to just get on with things and just have your... and this has been adapted along the way as well. We have our set way of doing it now. So... we will write down a bit of a routine.
Yeah.
Won't completely follow it to a T, but I like to ask Steph a few questions, whether it's, I can't get into the transition zone usually in the morning of race. So it's, have you done X, Y, and Z? Just so Steph has ticked those boxes. And that's something we've come to learn along the way, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm very internal on race morning. I don't need to... kind of get hyped and bang my chest and stuff. And we've had race evenings, the evening before the race before, where Matt's been getting super hyped and has been like, yeah, we're going to go and we're going to smash everyone. It's going to be so great. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is execute this. Because for me, that energy and emotion becomes really distracting to my little kind of process that I've put together. So that I don't, because the last thing you want to do is forget something, forget to leave your nutrition in your race bag, or forget to put your batteries back on your bike.
Yeah. A big one is leaving water bottles behind in the fridge.
Oh yeah.
When you leave the house in the morning, Steph will usually make up her water bottle, her mixes. whatnot and put them in the fridge the night before, which is a good way of doing it. Keep them cool for the morning. But if we don't put it on our checklist as we walk out the door, it will be something that might and has been forgotten, that we've had not completely forgotten. We've had to go back for a couple of times.
Yeah, I think it's predominantly I've forgotten water before.
Yeah.
Which is no big deal because you can usually find water. But from the moment the race gun goes, my head basically clears and I'm super relaxed. I have noticed a little bit this year. I've kind of been fighting a bit of anxiety in the swim, which is something that we're dealing with at the moment. Not really sure why, but from the moment that I get onto the bike, like I'm just having the time of my life. And I love working hard. So, like for me, the process is designed to help me remain calm and internal and in control before the race starts. Whereas for Matt, the chaos starts as soon as the gun goes. And if anyone has travelled with us to a race or been around Matt on race day, he will not eat. He forgets to eat food.
As a supporter, not as a...
Yeah, this is Matt as a supporter. And the last thing I say to Matt every single race is please remember to have breakfast.
To be fair, if I've got good company around, I'm usually either force-fed. Probably Robbie and Yaz, we've gone out with a few times. They'll force-feed me coffee and food and
yeah. So if any of
along the
you
way.
see Matt on a race day, can you just give him some food, please?
Yeah, or Mark Matthews is usually pretty good at either giving me
pizza or beer.
Pizza or beer.
I'm not sure beer is particularly useful when you haven't had anything else to eat.
So yeah, it's just I get nervous and I have to follow my procedure then, and I just forget that eating encompasses that.
Yeah, eating is quite an important part of it.
But I'm not going to waste away over a day. So
yeah, I think that it's something you've definitely been able to improve this year.
Yeah, and I think we both have. So, for instance, when you were an age grouper, I don't know, 2 races through the year potentially. We target those, and you don't really get the experience because by doing 2 races a year, they're quite spread out. Whereas now, as a professional, let's just say, I'll just call it an example, call it 8 races through the year. You're learning a lot, especially last year. Well, last year was your first year. We did 8 start lines. You learn a lot from every single race, and we sort of take that on board and what we can do better for each race. And that's the preparation, that's the during the race, that's after the race. And even the preparation and training for the race. So I think we learn a lot and take that forward. So not just our preparations for how we both prepare in races and for races as support and racer, athlete, competitor, don't know what you call it. Yeah, we've certainly learned a lot, and I think it's still changing, and we're still improving things. But it's quite a fun dynamic to have during race day.
And I think something that's actually really helped this year is we've had 2 races where like pretty big things have gone wrong. So I've had 2 DNFs, which is not something you want in your pro season, but neither of them were by choice. And both required us to like massively problem solve on the go. First one more than the second, to be fair. But when you're faced with a race where something's gone wrong, the next one feels so much easier. Yeah. Because you're like, well, we've dealt with something that was really quite bad, and one of them was a broken wheel, the second one was a crash, and we came away from it and we're okay.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is making sure you get up okay and you know, I'm fine. Look, it's not my day today.
Yeah,
and that's fine. We have those days in sport.
We have those days generally.
Yeah, and that could happen as an age group or a professional.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just not your day.
But the race process to help with the race day nerves has been a big development point and is something that is continually ongoing. And I'm sure, like, especially as the field and the occasion gets bigger and bigger, will be something that we have to carry on working on, because the better we are in how we deal with it is the better that I can race. Yeah. Because there's just fewer distractions and I'm better prepared and I'm calmer. I'm getting the information that I need from Matt. And I just feel in control. Yeah,
I think we can wrap up there. And I think that was a good question. And yeah, race day stress and about how we both deal with it differently I think that's a good question.
Yeah. Which
kind of leads me on to another question we had, which we can quickly brush on, was rivalries.
Oh, yeah.
Steph got asked if she had any rivalries, I guess, and if there were any rivalries of note within I don't know, the triathlon world, I guess. I guess you can answer it. Go on.
Yeah, so it's I have spent my life in sport, and I actually, back in my swimming days, I used to train with my biggest competitor, and we were friends. And likewise in rowing, it was such a small world that you kind of had to be friends with the people that you were racing against, because otherwise you would have no friends. And you all shared an interest, and you're all working towards a common goal. So it was very natural for that friendship to exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, like friendships absolutely do exist in triathlon, and it's
through all sports. So
I mean, the question was specifically triathlon. I think because of the friendships that we see through the media, the question was, are they authentic or are they put on for the camera?
Yeah.
They are 100% authentic. Well, I mean, I can't speak for all of them, but
the vast majority
are, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people within triathlon, and there's a lot of people who get on. I'm sure there's people who don't get on, and there's probably a lot of that.
But in general, if people are putting in the energy to show that they have a friendship, they've got a friendship, because this is a world where training and racing and all of the other stuff takes up enough of our energy. We're not going to lie about being friends with people.
Yeah, it's a very lonely sport, so to do it by yourself would be hard.
Yeah, it'd be pretty tough. And the follow-up question was, have I had support from other pros? And that answer is categorically yes. We have had so much support from other professionals that are like 1, 2, 5, 6 years ahead of us in terms of like how long they've been professional and how well ingrained they are with the sport. And in general, we have found that people are so willing to help.
Yeah.
Like, for example, went up to see Ruth Assel in Leeds over the weekend, and hopefully I'll be able to get up to Spain to see her for camp in February. And when I decided that I wanted to turn pro, I had a chat to her about it, and I spoke to her about the Zwift Academy, which was amazing. And Kat Matthews has always been there to help and support, and she used to live locally to us, which was always fun. We go out for some rides, and will always answer a question if I have one. And I think it's made the transition for me so much less daunting. And that doesn't mean that like you agree with everyone on everything, right? It means that we can have very different viewpoints on racing and how we want to go about things. But I think that's the basis of a healthy friendship, is that you can have your own ideas and views about what you want to do and what the sport offers, and then someone else can have theirs, and you can just have a conversation about it and all be striving towards achieving great things and lifting each other up.
Yeah, there's a lot of support out there. And I want to jump back to the rivalry point, because I just remembered a funny thing my old coach used to say to us, and it was essentially along the lines of, if we'd had a tough race or we'd been beaten by another crew, he would essentially ask us, tell us to go and not say thank you, but be thankful for that, because that pushes you on. If you haven't got someone beating you or someone pushing you to work harder and get faster, then I don't know, it just becomes too easy. So it's not exciting. There's no thrill in it. Again.
Yeah, and so you want to beat each other on your best day.
Yeah,
and their best days.
So it's not so much a rivalry thing. I think it's more of a competition thing. But I think as soon as everyone gets on that start line, there's a rivalry there. Yep. Whether you like it or not, everyone wants to win. Whether you're 100th ranked athlete, first ranked athlete, everyone's on that start line to compete for the win. Yeah,
for sure. And you do your due diligence about the people that you're racing, even if they are your friends, about where their strengths are, where your strengths are in comparison, and what you would need to do to beat them. Because that's just what you do as an athlete. You figure out how to win races. But that doesn't mean that you're not friends with people. And that doesn't mean that if they beat you, you would be sad about it. Like, I think I have yet to cross a finish line this year and not be ecstatic for the people that beat me, because they had a great day and they beat me. How can you, like, that's great for them, especially when you know you've had a great day too, which just means that they must have had an amazing one. And that's exciting, because it means that, you know, the sport's moving on and you get to be a part of that revolution, and you get to be a part of the progression that we're seeing, especially within women's triathlon. So yeah, the more that we can all lift each other up and kind of push each other's performance and show what we are capable of as a whole, everyone's individual performance will improve as well, which is what we all want.
Yeah. So wrapping up rivalries, yes, we will stay tuned. We will release more rivalries of Steph along the year. But at the moment, it's just
we are
me.
not a gossip podcast. Yes, exactly. Steph and Matt is the biggest rivalry of Steph's career.
Right, you've won that one in triathlon.
Actually, we do have a rivalry.
Okay, go on. Yep.
So, we are constantly competing for the marathon PB in the household.
Yes, I get a bit of a not a leg up. What's the handicap? I guess.
I have the handicap.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah.
You get the head start.
So I get the head start. Mine is a standalone marathon, which I've run a 3:05 this last year. Steph has also run a 3:05, but after a swim bike.
So mine was an Ironman marathon and Matt was a
Yes.
standalone. And Matt typically runs his in like March time, and then mine will be later. But that isn't happening this year. Yours will be later.
We don't know. We'll see. I haven't signed up to anything yet. But if anyone wants any good shouts for any good marathons, which are flat in the UK and don't clash with any of Steph's races, maybe I'll sign up for.
Yeah, because each time Matt's raced, I've then gone and beat him later in the year. So basically, we want Matt to run a sub-3 marathon flat so that I can run a sub-3 marathon later in the year.
Yeah, I did say I'd sign up with Aaron to do Newport Marathon again, which is dead flat and close to us both, but he is not training and I am not really training. So, well, we'll see. We'll see if we can fit that into the calendar.
So stay tuned for the Steph and Matt household marathon competition.
Yeah, who's your money on?
Yeah, let us know who's going to go sub-3 first.
Currently not me. Anyway, should we go to the what the buck?
Yeah, let's go for the what the buck. I want to share some ones that we got through on the story first.
Okay,
because they were quite fun.
We need some like music to like.
We do need some music. We need some like sound effects. We need to get. If anyone's watching on YouTube, and for those that aren't, I'm really sorry. We've got a lovely panelled wall behind us.
But it's plain.
It is plain. We need to get some stuff on it. We could get like a sound effects machine with like a bell and a triangle so that we can just ding it.
Okay.
Deal. Okay, that's sorted. So we had 3 really funny what the buck moments this week that were sent through. The first being from Cam. He had his oven and his boiler break in one night. I mean, that's pretty tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'd be saying more than what the buck.
So many. Yeah, definitely. That is incredibly frustrating. The second one is a life hack, actually, from Rory Cruikshank. If you get your washing label on a piece of clothing and scan it with your iPhone, it will translate the hieroglyphics for you and tell you how to wash your clothes.
Are you sure he's not just having you on?
Mind-blowing.
People could just write anything in these comments. Steph would read them out. She doesn't fact check anything.
I haven't fact checked any of it.
I haven't seen any of these.
But if that would be so useful, because I have spent the last 3 decades of my life trying to figure out what those symbols mean and asking Google every time. So if that's true, Apple, you've done a great job.
Don't you just throw it in the washing machine, press a few buttons, click, click, click?
You wouldn't know because you don't use our washing machine.
No, I wouldn't. But we have used some new washing detergent recently.
We have done. So a company called EcoSwash sent us some of their washing sheets that are fantastic. So eco-friendly, no reusable or one-use plastics, and yeah, fully like sustainable packaging. So we're in the midst of using them, and I will be taking them to Lanzarote because then it means I don't need to buy like 40 tabs when I'm out there.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring some on and show them onto the next show. But yeah, thanks to Dom from EcoSwash. Check them out.
Certainly do. And the final what the buck is feedback from Matt.
Oh yeah, Ed.
Ed Lavrak couldn't believe, and again, this is for those that watch on YouTube, Matt didn't move for the entire podcast recording last week.
I was stiff, frozen, scared.
And that was the what the buck, as if Matt didn't move for 40 minutes.
I don't know what does Ed want? Do you want me to do a little dance?
Yeah, should we get Matt to learn a TikTok dance live on the podcast?
Absolutely not.
I think we should.
But I don't gesticulate. I just comfy in my chair.
You're just comfortable.
Having a conversation. So sorry, Ed.
Hopefully he's moved a little bit more this week for you. But our what the buck moment this week.
Yes.
Is Hilda de Sorgne, and I'm so...
De Sorgne?
So sorry if I mispronounced that. Probably did. She ran a marathon every single day in 2024.
Yeah, at the age of, was she 55?
55, I think.
She's not, the age isn't incredible. The actual
thing is incredible.
But she also didn't run a marathon every day. She ran 42.5 kilometres.
Because she wanted to make sure that it was like real.
Yeah, which is bonkers.
And if you think like, it's like, oh, it's only, 300 meters every day for 365 days.
Yeah, it adds
That would
up.
get pretty tough. She also had like COVID. She had a stomach bug. She got the flu. And she still kept running, which is mind-blowing. So I've written it down, and I
Is it more than another marathon? Yeah, there would be more than another marathon.
So she ran 15,444 kilometres, which is equivalent to 9,596 miles across the year. And I was pleased that I hit over 2,000 kilometres run.
Yeah, compare that to what not you, but you, the listeners, have run this year, and it's quite a lot.
It's quite a lot. I hope she hasn't run one yet in 2025.
So, what the buck moment of the week goes to Hilda de Songier. We're going to go with.
We're gonna go with.
But also a notable mention to James Cooper. I think is he from Ireland or is he from the UK?
I have no idea. You've sprung this one on me.
Yeah, he has also run a marathon every day of the 2000. I think it was every day of 2024. I don't know who finished it first. It doesn't matter. But
where do you get these ideas? Like, do you wake up on January 1st and be like, you know what would be a really, really fun thing to do this year?
Well, funny you should say that. I'm actually trying to run well, you know this. I don't know. I'm telling the listeners. But I've been trying to run every day of January this year. And I don't know why. I didn't want to tell anybody or say anything because now I have to do it. But I wanted to run every day of January just to get into good routines, good habits, and hope. And if I was going to injure myself, I'd stop. But I wouldn't recommend this to anybody. It's just such a stupid idea anyway. But I just wanted to get into a routine. I'm running again. So I've been running every day. And we're on the 13th, 14th today. So we're almost halfway through. And it's only been, 5K, half an hour, 35 minutes, sometimes a bit more a day. But just easy running just to try and get back into rhythm. So it's not quite as exciting as those guys, but it's a start.
It is. I actually think you like to kickstart things.
Yes.
Like you have to do something that is like, I do this every day, whether it's eating, whether it's exercise, whether it's going for a walk. I
can definitely do eating all
like you can't do it like, I'm going to do a little bit of it. You have to go all in, otherwise you won't do it.
Very much an all or nothing person.
Which doesn't help with the biscuit situation in the house because I'm like, I'll have 2 or 3 biscuits and Matt eats a whole packet. Well,
there's another conversation. If you open a packet of biscuits, you can't just have 1 or 2.
Yes, you can.
Okay, well, we'll save that one for the listeners.
See what you guys think. If you open a packet of biscuits, do you have to consume the whole packet in one sitting, or can you save it for later?
Well, it's not even that. You just don't eat 1 or 2 biscuits. If you have a cup of tea or a coffee, I've lost 2 biscuits by dunking it. I have to get a spoon to fish them out, but so yeah, we'll pose that to the listeners.
Oh dear. I don't want to do this next one.
Oh yeah, this next one. It's not our what the buck moment. We've had that. It is our weekly buck up. We've probably got too many bucks in this podcast, but we're rolling with it. So it's basically our weekly story. We had one last week of Steph putting on her leggings underneath her wetsuit. This week, I was working from home during the day and I got a call from Steph and it was quite icy on the roads. So I thought, oh no, here we go. She's crashed the car into a tree or something stupid. Thankfully, it wasn't that. Spoiler alert. But I had a call from Steph to say, oh, hi, Matt. I've just made it to swimming, which is 30-minute drive, Steph?
35.
Yep, from our house. To which Steph said, oh, is my swim bag still at home? So I went downstairs, looked by the front door, and there it was, Steph's swim bag. So she'd walked straight past her bag, got in the car, and gone swimming. So explain yourself, Steph.
Yeah, so I told you last week, I forget things, I lose things. I don't know why, I just do. And I have like a routine when I'm leaving for swimming so that I don't forget things, because absolute nightmare if you turn up swimming and you haven't got your swimming costume, especially at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So
and goggles, towel.
There's everything. There's a lot of things in there. But goggles live in the bag. If you forget your towel, it's annoying. You can get by. If you forget your swimming costume, which doesn't live in the bag because it would go mouldy, you've got problems.
Yeah, it's not like PE at school, is it? Where you can have the I don't know if you had this at school. We had a state school, or whatever you want to call it. We had a box of spares.
Oh, we had a box of spares.
Or you ended up doing it in your pants, I guess.
No, we never did it in our pants, but we did have a box of spares, but didn't at the swimming pool. And yeah, so on this particular day, as Matt said, it was icy. So I had a kettle that I boiled to pour on our driveway to melt some of the ice that I could get off it without crashing the car into their house. And I'd left the house, I'd taken my coffee out and put it in the car, and then I'd de-iced the driveway, come back in. I think I'd moved the bin, like I'd been doing other things, and then I kind of went back in the house, said goodbye to Matt, and then left, assuming quite wrongly that I'd put my swimming bag in the car when I left for the first time, and there was like, sometimes I get a bit of a brain worm when I've forgotten something, and like 10 minutes later I'll be like, oh, I think I forgot X, Y, and Z. I should probably stop and check. So I've done it before. I forgot my swimming costume, stopped, checked, turned around, gone home, picked it up. But I've only been 5 minutes from the house. I didn't have a brain worm, so I just kept driving, got to the uni and opened up the boot, and there was no bag, and my stomach just dropped.
But all you had to do was look over your shoulder and check your swim bag wasn't there. I mean, you had your priorities right. You had your coffee ready. Maybe if you'd had your coffee before, you'd have been
I
more
think
alert.
It was an emergency coffee, actually. I think I'd already had one.
Yeah. I mean, I will give it to you. We had a busy day that day. We were travelling around after work quite a bit, so you had to get everything in order. I think you'd done a 2-hour bike that morning, got up early, got it done. So yeah, forgotten your swim bag. So
yeah, I didn't go swimming, so I drove home, and I didn't want to do another, so I had 35 minutes there, found my swim bag was missing, 35 minutes back, and just didn't want to drive another hour and 10 minutes to do a swim, so just didn't go.
Is a swim worth driving an extra hour and 10 minutes for again?
Well, especially as we were driving.
No, I'm not asking you the question. I'm posing the question to everybody else. Is it worthwhile the journey?
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
Yeah,
but you guys can weigh in if you want.
If it was walking distance, cycling distance, even a short drive distance, I think I'd probably come back. But not having to. If people have driven through the centre of Bath, they'll realise that traffic can be a bit of an issue.
Yeah. So
it's probably not the best journey to make.
No, it was an absolute pain. So yeah, that was my backup for last week. Well, let's hope we don't have any more extreme ones this week, because that could be really extreme, because like I said, I'm getting on a flight on Sunday, so I don't want to forget anything important.
Yeah, but
I'll be making a list.
Yeah, you'll be leaving me behind, so I'll be able to make sure that you've got everything.
And next week we are going to be recording the podcast.
Yeah, at least we're going to try. We're going to have to try. We obviously can't take our setup with us, but we will see what we can do. I mean, I'll probably still be here.
Matt's going to be here, and I will be in Lanzarote. So we're going to be in different places. So if the sound doesn't work, it's because Matt's not been able to figure it out on the laptop.
Oh, blame it on Matt.
Or my mic hasn't worked out in Lanzarote. But yeah, so next week I'm away, Matt's here, and then we're both in Lanzarote the week after that. So hopefully podcast will continue recording, and we'll be giving you an insight into what it looks like on a camp in Lanzarote in the sunshine, and hopefully not making you too jealous.
Yeah, so if there's anything you'd like to know about training camps, how we decide them, how do we decide where we go, where are the best destinations, maybe we can put a bit of a poll, because I think there's quite a few. We're obviously a bit more akin to Europe, but there's plenty more further afield. So give us your suggestions.
For sure. And then the next 2 weeks will be camp focused.
Any buck of the weeks? No, it's not what I wanted to say.
That was a combination of the two.
Yeah. Any what the buck moments of the week, send across to us and we will read them out.
And I am sure I'm going to do something stupid this week to share in our weekly buck up.
Yeah. So
you can imagine the language that came out of my mouth when I realised I'd forgotten my swimming bag.
Yeah. And you're not particularly potty mouthed, so
no, but I was very sad.
So I think we'll wrap up there, but thank you very much for listening again this week. We hope you've enjoyed it.
We've enjoyed it, and we will catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.